Hello.
Hello, we
We
back.
back.
Yes,
and
yes.
do you want to start or do I start?
I don't really have anything, so you can start.
Okay, well,
That way I can look at the news.
so I just kind of happened to come across this because I don't follow this at all. But this morning, I saw something come by. Ubisoft's shares crash after reset announcement. Ubisoft shares fell nearly 40% in a day to about $3.98. Their lowest since 2011.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why is my
Oh,
game?
they have also had a couple of hacks.
Why is my game lagging?
Uh, also, am I lagging?
No, I am lagging.
Ah. But like, they had a couple of hacks regarding
Hold on.
also like think was it Rainbow Six Siege
I don't know.
where people were just given literal billions and billions and billions worth of credits and everything, and they were absolutely pissed off at that. And it wasn't even a singular hack, it was multiple. So they've been suffering from that. In the meantime, they're just being an overall shit company, so that isn't helping either. And combine all of that, and what you end up with is a mess. You end up with stock prices that are so low that you can basically buy them. Like,
Yeah.
you could skip lunch and then buy multiple stocks, multiple Ubisoft stocks, which is probably not gonna go up in value a lot
Yeah.
unless someone should turn it
Well,
around.
okay, but okay, Jules. Are we gambling men?
Yes, we are gambling men.
Because there is always the possibility that it goes back up.
Yeah, there's also a great possibility that it goes bankrupt because, well,
okay,
I don't think they're gonna change direction soon.
hmm. I think I just have so many applications open right now that the game it does not enjoy. Because
Mm.
normally I have no problem running this game at all.
And also, I've seen some interesting videos today. Well, actually, a couple days ago as well. First of all, I completely ruined my YouTube algorithm with one video called beans.mp4.
Right.
It is basically a person on a bike opening a can of baked beans, putting it in a pan, grabbing a gas stove, like a little gas burner, holding the pan on the burner, baking the beans, and then consuming the beans, all while continuing to cycle along. That is a power move,
You could say that, yes.
but they completely ruined my algorithm. Although I just look at the videos I need
I
or I
forgot
want
that
to
this
see.
stuns him.
For example, a video of how Russia's actually running out of tanks. And them now starting to actually, like, the biggest stockpile they have of one specific tank is from the 60s. It is actually just how bad they managed to fuck this up, in the sense that You were one of the countries with the largest stockpiles of armor. Then you do a special 3-day military operation that lasts 4 years. And you're almost out of tanks at this point. Also, Putin has started to mess with the high command in the army. He's starting to mess around with like the commanders and everything, which is a general indicator that you are not on the winning side if you have to restructure your army continuously because they aren't providing enough results.
Well, maybe he's doing the very strategic thing of, if you don't know what I'm doing, wait. If I don't know what I'm doing, then you don't know either.
Yeah. Although with Russia, it is more likely that one commander couldn't provide results, so he got sacked and replaced by another. Who couldn't do this? Who couldn't turn it around either because the materials that they have are shit. Like specifically regarding the water stuff, like the boats, the submarines, and everything. The fact that Ukraine has been sort of slaughtering them with unmanned, like, you can call them drones, but they're just unmanned boats. Imagine having your submarine blown to bits by a remote controlled boat. As a like the general responsible for that type of stuff, like, you're gonna get demoted and or magically disappear. You know, you always have the oopsie fall out of a window. Or
Yeah,
oopsie accidentally
or
walked in front of this car.
or oops, rocket hit plane.
Whoops. How did that
That
happen?
that's happened a few times.
Yeah, they had a lot of practice they had some practice in 2014.
Um, yes. I was also kind of referring to what happened to
Yeah,
the
Wagner.
leader of
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Wagner group.
Yeah, he got the same treatment. Like, a plane doesn't magically fall apart in the sky. It generally has more of a it lands safely deal if your plane isn't blown up. But yeah, I'm curious how the war in Ukraine is going to go, considering the army's falling apart. They're losing more men that they can replace, which is already a scary thing to say. Because that means that they've gone through pretty much all the recruitable population and are now down to what they can get, and then killing that way too quickly to replace. And yeah, we can't forget the loss in material. So they're down on all fronts, and all that Putin can do is double down. He can only escalate.
Kind of,
His
yeah.
entire strategy was ask for peace talks, damage Ukraine enough so that they're forced to go for them, otherwise they'll just lose. Take what what you wanted, and do it again in like 10 years. That was his plan.
Yeah.
The thing is, Ukraine didn't fold. So now you're just asking for peace talks while bombing the country. That isn't really a good thing, you know? You don't really achieve much when you're saying, I want peace, while you're the one that's bombing. That doesn't work.
Yeah, well.
We'll see what happens there. Yeah, that is... And we had office drama. Have I talked about that already on the podcast? About the office drama, or...
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because we had drama in the office. Because usually once a month we get some snacks for everybody that has their birthday in that month. And it comes from a pool of money, and that pool of money suddenly, like, was empty. There was not really any communication, so on the day, I think it was like the... No, I don't think I've talked about this, because it happened a couple weeks ago.
You have talked about it to me.
It happened a couple weeks ago, where we were all waiting for the snacks to come, and then they just didn't. And then later in the afternoon, we get an email saying, "Yeah, the pool of money specifically for that, yeah, it's empty. We're looking at it to see what we can do." It just caused a lot of commotion and everything, and nobody was happy with that. So that's basically the office drama. And there was a little bit of unfortunate timing with one of the directors stepping up and all that. Like, he went away and he got a party, but we didn't get snacks for the people that had their birthday. So the timing was a bit unfortunate with that one, I have to say. That's just an entire bit of oops.
Well.
And also, weather is getting worse this week. And once you're listening to this, it has been worse.
Probably.
We're getting cold and wet instead of just cold.
Part of the country is going to snow again.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah, up north. The problem is, it's just... Yeah. I don't mind if it's just cold, but if it gets wet, that means my locks are frozen on my car. I have to scrape my windows, because otherwise I can't see shit. And it's an overall mess to drive in that weather, because people get scared as soon as it's a little bit wet. I drove 40 in a 100 zone. It wasn't even wet, it was just dark. It's some asshole decided today is the perfect, like right now, with a lot of cars behind me, is the perfect time to do 50 to 40 kilometers per hour. Because fuck everyone.
Well, duh. Your response should just be go step on the gas.
Yeah, it was a double line, so I wasn't allowed to overtake. There are a bunch of cars in front of me, which means I can't overtake.
No, you don't have to overtake. You just push them forward.
That don't do.
Oh. But it could.
It could, but it don't. Like, it causes damage to my car, to other people's cars.
Well,
and my car doesn't weigh shit, so it's not going to be able to push.
Just add some weights to your car.
It doesn't have the torque to deal with it either. Like, that is the more apparent thing. Like, I do not have the torque to actually pull through. It is just I could try, but most likely I just won't have the oomph to actually pull. I mean, Twingos did come with tow hooks, apparently. You could actually tow stuff with them, which I actually find rather concerning. Like, you have these very light and nimble cars, and you're just gonna put a trailer behind it? I mean, we did figure out recently that you are technically, with a normal driver's license here in the Netherlands, that you are allowed to drive a limousine.
Yes.
All they care about, basically, is weight. If it weighs over 3.5 metric tons, then no, you are not allowed. If it's under that, you are allowed. So as long as you keep your... as long as you make your limousine out of carbon fiber, you should be fine. Never mind the immense struggle it would be to make that out of carbon fiber. Because carbon fiber is expensive and difficult to lay properly to get the full strength out of. Because if you mess it up, then that becomes a whole large mess.
Yes.
Speaking of carbon fiber, more drama. Ooh.
Oh.
Formula One has started a testing week. Like a shakedown is what it is. In Barcelona.
Shakedown. So they're gonna steal people's money.
No, it's more like, does your car actually work? before we do some official testing.
This is some perfectly timed music for this.
What, did you get coconut model?
Oh. Well, now there's two music.
But like, the test wasn't gonna be put on camera at all. It's just gonna be like a shakedown week, 5 days, should be done. However, they were like, oh, I guess we could milk it a little bit. So then they posted some videos.
Oh, you always could.
But now they started to actually use actual police helicopters to even send out some people with, like, even if you're like half kilometer away from the actual race course, if you're a journalist, you're being told to move along and get out of there.
Yes.
Like, imagine you're walking your dog and you're being told that you're basically trespassing on public property because of some rich people driving around in cars. And that's the reason, and that being the reason why you can't just do your basic stuff. That is sort of weird to me that they first didn't really crack down at all, and all of a sudden really cracked down. Got police helicopters, just just a lot of surveillance to prevent anybody from taking pictures.
Yeah, well.
Which is weird because they are still uploading pictures. So like, why can they do it and we don't? And why can't we?
Because the world is not fair, and that's okay.
Not really, but
I mean, it is though.
have you seen the state of the world? You think that's okay?
I mean, no.
Like, there is a doomsday clock specifically to see how close you are to midnight, which would be pretty much the end. And we're now the closest we have ever been, with 85 seconds. Due to a bunch of wars, a bunch of idiots in power, Climate change, which
Oh wait.
there still isn't jack shit happening with that because big oil and all that. Like, we need to build more nuclear reactors, safe ones, not like the ones in Chernobyl and everything that blew up. We can build proper safe ones, and even if they were to melt down, would sort of melt the bottom of the container it's in and fall in and get removed from the reactive part. Like, we can build reactors where you have to use a little bit of plutonium to basically do the reaction. You have to add something to actually make it react, which means in case of emergency, you separate the two, boom. No
Yeah.
reaction anymore, no boom. Just some damage that needs repairing, which will cost some money, but it's not like you're going to have to evacuate an entire village. It isn't not going to be worldwide news. Well, maybe the first couple of times. Everybody's going to realize that nuclear energy is pretty safe. And at that point, everybody can relax again and enjoy some clean energy instead of coal. I still do not understand Germany whatsoever. Like, they had nuclear power
Yeah.
plants. They just cut them down and went back to coal because they were scared of a different way of boiling water.
They did that
Because that's all.
after. I don't know if it was after Chernobyl or after Hiroshima. Not Hiroshima.
Fukushima.
Fukushima. Fukushima.
Well, the thing with Fukushima is it is pretty much contained.
I know, and also, um, why are we not talking about the earthquake that caused it? You know, the one that moved
There,
the axis of the Earth.
yeah, like Chernobyl was a design error and just a
I mean, it was outdated as
Soviet
well.
error in it was outdated, prone to failure basically, because they somehow thought it was a great idea to make the tip of the control rods reactive, so that if you wanted to dump them back in, they would the tip would react, making it hotter before it would cool down. That was a grave mistake already. Then the management was absolute dog shit with safety tests that should have been done years ago before the accident. So they had to rush it, which caused the fault to begin with. And yeah, everything just went wrong. With Fukushima, there was nothing wrong with the design, as far as I know. It was a natural disaster because it was in a, well, earthquake-prone area.
Well, yes, but that is Japan. But this earthquake was slightly, just a little more powerful than usual.
Yeah, just slightly more shaky. And even with that, they still Germany was still like, oh no, this is a problem. One that was badly managed, and one that had a natural disaster happen to it. And all of a sudden they said, well, we'll just shut them all down. I think they've turned a couple of them back on again because they needed the energy. But also, I guess stopping the production. I'm now realizing the power of the EU basically wanting to stop production of like 90% of CO2 emissions from cars by 2035. Like, from that year onward, 90% of CO2 emissions have to be gone. That's why newer cars are either hybrid or electric.
Yes.
At first it was 100. Like they were basically saying combustion engines, or at least the sale of them, is getting banned from 2035. However, that's not going to happen because that would simply be impossible, and the infrastructure is just not going to be there by that time. At least not everywhere. Here in the Netherlands, it might be. No, we have quite dense infrastructure, so we can easily get away with stopping a bunch of chargers around. But I've heard multiple people basically complain about electric cars as soon as it comes to driving somewhere. Like, we're going on vacation. Let's say you go to Italy. How are you going to get there with your electric car? Having to stop 2 or 3 times just to charge up. And that stop isn't a short one either. Like, yeah, of course, if you're going to travel a long distance, you're going to have a couple of longer stops. That is a guarantee. But you're not gonna have that stop every time. A couple of stops are just gonna be fill up the tank and go. Maybe 10 minutes.
Yes.
And half an hour, that's assuming you can find a fast charger.
Okay.
If you can't,
I know
you're
it
stuck for
doesn't.
2 hours.
I know it doesn't make sense to do this, but can we get electric cars that still require you to shift gears?
In theory, it could be more efficient, considering. But that's if you want to go for like incredibly high speeds.
Well, I know they technically don't shift gears, right?
You just change the amperage around, like the amperage and voltages around a little bit to either get more torque or get more RPS. That's basically what you're doing. You're changing the power output of the engine or of the electric motor.
Yeah. But can
Which
we
I guess
get that manual?
I guess if you do a lot of city driving, you could potentially get a lot of the feel of a normal car back. It could actually be quite a smart idea. I mean, of course, the easiest way to do it would be pedal shifters behind the steering wheel. And you'd probably call it, instead of gears, just drive modes. Like you basically go from comfort, normal, sport, instead of your 1 through 5. Because that's what you're basically, that would be the easier option.
Yeah.
And somewhat fancy cars already have that.
Yes.
They already have a sport mode and a comfort mode if you go for like luxury cars. Which why would you go for? Why would you go for that? Yes, they're a bit more yes, they're somewhat more comfortable, but they're also a lot more expensive. And they're not as fun to drive as small little hatchbacks that just zip around. Like, how else will you know the joy of bombing it over a roundabout at 40 kilometers per hour? When I learned to drive, they said, do 25. Now I'm basically 30 to 40. I take the racing line on a roundabout just so I can get off quicker. Also, my acceleration isn't that good, so momentum is necessary. If I don't carry momentum through, like, every corner, acceleration is going to be more painful. People should drive smaller cars. They're better for the environment. They're better for the roads, considering they do less damage, because heavy thing that's rolling on something solid is eventually going to damage the something solid. which means you're getting grooves in your road, which then hold water, which means aquaplaning is going to happen quicker. And overall road surface gets worse, which means stop driving those big, heavy, fuck off SUVs. You can't see past them unless you have one yourself, which is probably the entire name of the game. Just be the one with the biggest SUVs, so they will buy that. It's just weird. I want my small car. I want my small and efficient car that just brings me from A to B in some comfort.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't want. Like, I've driven a big SUV. It is just the same as driving a small car. The only difference is that you have to take your surroundings. Like, you have to really think about that. Because in a small hatchback, you don't have to think about the size of your car at all. You will very likely just squeeze through. But big SUV. Yeah, that's gonna be a bigger problem there.
Yes.
Like, you won't be able to properly fit in parking spots.
Yeah, I genuinely
example.
don't understand people buying cars that big.
Like, I went to pick up a couple of axle stands because cars have to be worked on. And right when I was about to leave, a Range Rover parked and pretty much blocked my line of sight to the road. I couldn't see if there was any traffic coming from the right-hand side. And I wanted to make a left turn, so I needed to take the traffic into account.
Yup.
Driving in one is comfortable, yes, I will say that. But I mean, you do technically pay for that comfort. You pay for the comfort of a big SUV, with the price being, if you want a new one, over 100,000. I could technically buy 100 of. I realized for for like 100,000, or let's take an more expensive. Let's say I want to buy a big expensive Porsche, like the SUV, and it's gonna cost me 150,000. I can, in theory, buy 100 Twingos for that. A 100 cars. That's pretty much all you need. Like, you could spend you could basically drive a different car every like 4 days. It wouldn't have driven them all within a year. Like, you'd be a collector with that many cars. Instead, no, you just buy one expensive SUV that people despise because you are annoying on the road. Also, I somehow managed after some time to crack my screen protector. So I'm currently replacing that one and realizing that, holy shit, my phone is dirty. Yeah, once the screen protector has been on there for a while, you do start to notice like little lines appearing around it, like dust that has collected. But I have a brush somewhere there. I specifically have a brush in cases like this where I can just brush off all the dust and everything. I'm surprised at how many times a brush can come in handy. I mean, just to get the rough stuff. Every time I order screen protectors off AliExpress, because where else would you order them? They come with like a wet wipe, a dry wipe, and the screen protector itself. And even numbered quite nice, like 1, wet wipe, 2, dry wipe. So you first use the wet one, then you use the dry one. Then you apply your screen protector. Then you realize there's dust underneath, because of course there is. But you don't want to remove it, because then you risk breaking the screen protector, and it's the last one you have. I may have put on too many screen protectors through my time with phones. But hey, at least I want my stuff to be secure. I don't want to end up with a cracked phone screen. That has never happened to me before, actually. Because I managed to keep my devices neat and tidy. Well, maybe with with a bunch of dust on it, but it won't be cracked at least. I'm not that person that walks around with like a shattered iPhone. We all know someone that has had those phones. Just an iPhone, maybe slightly older model, just completely cracked. Like barely functional type of stuff. Yet somehow they still use it for like a couple years before they upgrade to a newer model. Which within a week will also be in the same state. Because why not? Because some people just don't take care of their equipment. Like, take care of your phone, take care of your PC, maybe clean it up a couple of times. Yeah, Jim, have you ever cleaned your PC yet?
No, I have not.
Ah, then remind me that next time I go to your place, I take cleaning supplies with me. Like, just those, like a can of compressed air.
I will say, you know how my case has like a glass side?
Yeah, has that gotten dirty?
No, but it did fall off.
Is it cracked?
No, it's like one side is like sort of stuck with a sort of tape. And the tape is
Yeah.
not all that sticky anymore. Luckily, my PC is like right next to like the leg of my desk, so I just pushed it up against that, and now it doesn't fall off.
So remind me that next time I go to your place, I fix. How is it? How did it fall off? It shouldn't be able to.
Well,
It's supposed to be
because
stuck with like
so on one side it has like the little
screws.
hooks kind of thing, and then the other side it's kind of just a sort of tape.
There's supposed to be like 2 screws at the back. If your case is any like mine, which is just the next model up.
In that case, I may not have
So
looked correctly.
there should be 2 like thumb screws that you can easily tighten back up
Well,
on the actual
there are
panel.
those in the back, but they didn't. I
Yeah, you're
couldn't
supposed to like
see what they
click.
were meant to attach to then.
You first click in the front, like on the front towards the front. You first click in that side. Then you push it. You might have to actually push it down a little bit, and then it should actually click into place. And then you screw it in. Once it's screwed in, then you're done. I also might want to order a new phone case as well, because this one is like already wearing, and I haven't had. Apparently, my pockets are quite harsh on equipment.
I see.
Like specifically, my keys are just lethal for things like screen protectors or any other stuff. There we go. That is now on. There we go. Fresh screen protector. No scratches. Hmm. Shall I look at some news then?
Yes, we probably should.
Let's see. What else do we have? Of course, we still have the ice stuff to talk about.
Again?
The second casualty. Like, you know, a while ago how people got mad that someone got murdered by ice
Yeah.
because they allegedly wanted to run them over, which wasn't the case at all. It was just a bunch of bullshit thought up as an excuse. Something like that happened again. A guy was just filming, you know, as everybody does, and apparently he was resisting or something because was thrown to the ground, shot. Then once his lifeless body was laying on the floor, shot again multiple times.
Wait.
Like he was a zombie, needed to be double tapped to make sure he was actually dead.
Isn't that illegal?
Oh yeah, but they're above the law. Like ICE is actually above the law. You, for anyone that's listening, you should really look into the comparison between what's happening in the US right now and 1930s Germany. You'd be surprised how similar that is. Which is scary because what happened after the 1930s in Germany? The 1940s. Where a silly guy with a silly mustache decided to do some silly things.
That did not happen in the 30s, Joe. That happened in the 30s, not in the 40s. It continued in the 40s and it ended in the 40s, but it started in the 30s.
Yeah, that's what you compared to the 30s, and because in the 40s, silly guy with silly mustache did silly thing, and started a 5-year conflict, which ended up in millions dead and the sun being dropped on Japan twice. So next time, maybe not start a world war. In the meantime, we have extreme heat and forest fires in Australia because there it's currently summer. So of course you're gonna have forest fires and everything there.
Yeah, so it's
because climate change.
Right.
Apparently, ice is gonna be present at the Olympic Games in Italy this winter.
Ice?
Yes.
Are they that athletic?
Because a couple of apparently they're just gonna protect their own, like, political people there. And Uber drivers here in the Netherlands are actually independent workers instead of, you know, under contract. There's some weird news. Apparently, the Dutch army was doing a joint exercise with the UK, basically doing some mountain climbing and exercising there on the mountain Ben Nevis, which I think is the highest mountain you have there in Scotland. And they found someone. Like, they were practicing a rescue operation, or they were going to, but they found someone. So the practice rescue operation became a real one.
I mean, that's convenient, right?
The man did. The man that was basically there, which was like just almost frozen.
That's not great.
Yeah, he was exhausted and major hypothermia, so they managed to get him down, get him, responsive again because his body was heating up. And yeah. We have a cargo ship with cars. Cargo ship. Pun intended. With no way of steering and moving because of a fire within the engine room. Nobody was hurt, but you can't really operate your ship if your ship is non-functional.
Yeah.
Sicily had a bit of cliff fall, like just a bit of cliff that just dropped away, with multiple houses now on the edge. Apparently, a trade deal has been made between the EU and India after decades of negotiations. You heard that right? Decades. Almost 20 years. Let's see, what else do we have? Trump's gonna put some, as an increase the tariffs on South Korea by to 25%. Not surprising. Like the thing with the US, right? In the meantime, like while everything's going down, they have freezing temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
The AI data centers are hiking the energy prices, which means that the people are freezing because they can't afford their energy bill. So that's already fucked up.
Yes.
So you are freezing in your house. In the meantime, AI videos exist.
Do not start about fucking AI videos.
So while Grok over here is undressing people, you are freezing in your house.
Woohoo.
I wish that sentence wasn't true, but it is. I had a lot of problems with that because people
Yeah,
are using
I know.
Grok, the Twitter AI, to undress people.
Oh, it's 6. Oh, fuck.
Let's see what else we have. Oh, hey, China's also bleeding the top of their army. Like 2 of the highest ranking military people have been put aside. So Xi Jinping is just pulling all the power towards him, so...
Doesn't he already
Good
have all the
thing.
power? Like, his name is
Yeah, but he's
literally
moved.
in their fucking, I don't know, do you call it a constitution?
Yeah, I know, but he's actually like... He was sharing the power with a couple of military power is sharing it with a couple people. Not only with one.
Oh, well, they must
So,
be best buddies then.
good thing.
I'm sure they enjoy watching Winnie the Pooh together.
It's a good thing that we live in Europe, and also a nice thing that, at least for me, if there were to ever be a draft, they will look at my medical file and not even invite me. Although they might invite me for some technical stuff, which in this day and age would actually be like,
Wait,
ah shit, me playing War Thunder probably doesn't help then, because I might look at the games like, what games do you like to play? For that would be a serious recruitment question with drones these days, and potentially remote controlled tanks as well. If everything's going to be remote controlled and people on the ground, that's good. That means that if they can't hold a gun, but they can hold a controller, they will still be drafted into the war. That's a scary thought. Yep. And also because we're engineers. You know, you get the whole like, oh, you can build us stuff? Please do. And then, yeah.
What the fuck?
What? You found a,
Okay, I never used pillar stance in this game because both smash stance and thrust stance tell you that you can see through the enemy with one of their moves,
yeah.
which is really nice. It's like a counter. Pillar stance does not tell you that it lets you do that, but apparently it does. I just did it. I've been missing out.
Let's see what. Also, if there were ever to ever be a draft here in Europe, things would probably already be pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll just do what my grandfather did and just not show up.
Or you let one of us break your leg, and oh no.
No, my grandfather's been to prison because he didn't go. Like he didn't go. He was he just refused.
Yeah. Or you come in with your like your medical files printed. Like you come in with documents, you slap them on the table, like look through those.
It's interesting. So, because my grandfather went to prison for that, but he also got out sooner than he was supposed to, because like he was declared like medically ill or something, like like mentally unwell, which he wasn't. So we're kind of not sure how that happened. Most likely, what happened is that the people there were like, he's not really a criminal. Like he didn't really do anything. So
Yeah.
there's the possibility that they were just kind of like, you can go home.
Like just give him something random that isn't.
Yeah.
That just lets him go home without any trouble.
But like, we don't know for sure.
Yeah, if I were to even get an invitation for a draft, like I have to come in for, you probably have to go in for a medical check first. Like you just send in, like you just send a letter to like, all right, who's within the age, and send them a letter or an email telling them to come to this place around that time, and they will get a checkup to see if they are fit for the military. So then you can already weed out one wave. Like you have all the people that have physical conditions or mental conditions that means they're unable to operate within an army. You get those people out of the way first, then you train the rest. I would just come in there with my full all the medical files that I can collect from birth. There'll probably be like an actual decently thick folder. And just slap them on the table there, like, yeah, I've brought some documents on why I shouldn't be here. Because I've had like 9 or 8 surgeries in total. I think 7 or 8 going to my arm. So I don't think I would qualify to be in an army. Like, either you have to put me on a stationary weapon.
I don't
Or give
know
me a
if I
pistol.
would be, because there are like minimum requirements, because, you know, they need a good starting point. And my stamina is kinda not great.
It depends on how desperate they get.
I guess so, yeah.
Because, like, I cannot hold a two-handed rifle, for example. That requires two functioning hands.
Really now.
Yes. Well, unless I want to just hip fire 24/7, but that isn't accurate at all. So yeah. Let's see, a musical that has been going for 16 years is gonna stop. The musical Soldaat van Oranje has been going on for 16 years.
16 or
And they never even
16?
said they were 1-6. So they've been
They both have
going
oh, like
on.
okay.
So they, like, the joke has been that they will never stop because they keep saying that they've extended the sale of tickets due to,
Yeah.
you know, high sales, big success verlengd, all that stuff. And now,
Surely it's been
because they
going
haven't
for
really
longer than 16 years.
2010 was 16 years ago.
Yes, but surely it has gone on for longer.
For most of our lives, it has been going on. And
Yes.
they never actually said that they were gonna stop until now. Now they've officially said, we're calling it quits. We're gonna continue on to like halfway through this year. Or when is it gonna stop? Like the 12th of July is gonna be the last actual show. Like, it's the musical's about somebody's time in the war. And the show started in October 2010, and they've, once it ends, they've done around 4,000 shows with 29 different casts. That is, how do I put this? That's incredible. Like 4,000 times. That is a lot. What else do we have? Oh yeah, our government is still being incompetent, as per usual. No, we haven't talked about our own politics in a while. Feels like.
I'm pretty sure we have. It's just all so much bullshit that it's kind of forgettable.
Yeah, but right now, just they're getting like this Friday, so the day after this airs, they need to bring in a plan,
Yes.
and they still haven't done it. So there, as I already predicted, there's going to be a very high chance that we're going to have to vote in about I guess about 8 months. So around September, I think around September that we get to vote again. Maybe October.
Wait.
I think that would have been around a year.
Wait, are they gonna
since we
give up?
voted. No, but I just have a suspicion that in about like 8 to 9 months, we get to vote again because they
hope
failed
not.
to do stuff on time.
I hope not, because it'd be stupid.
Well, the thing is, just I feel like one party has just been throwing a wrench into everybody's plans. Like they just there were two parties who were like, all right, we are gonna work together. That's a fact. Then the question was, do we want to work with the right or the left wing parties? They could have had one of each, but the right wing party just stood, stood their ground and just said like, no, we won't. And they just kept saying, no, we won't, until they said, all right, we'll settle for a coalition that isn't a majority. Usually, if your party isn't big enough to be in the majority, you form a coalition. You go to a bunch of other parties, ask, do you want to work together? And if they say, yeah, sure, then you keep doing that until you reach a majority, which they haven't. So with each thing that they might try and pass, they have to somehow get support from other people, from other parties.
Yeah. Wow.
So, as I said, we're probably gonna have to vote again in a couple of months. I just have this feeling it's not gonna be fun because it's gonna be a whole lot of campaigning and looking into people's or into party like the plans again, like what do these parties actually stand for?
Like, there was this. It was kind of a comedy thing, but he did kind of make a point where he was like, it's kind of bullshit that there's like, you know, before elections, there's this whole span of time that's way too long, purely dedicated to campaigns.
Yeah.
And he was like, what if we just stop with this system? On your every year, on your birthday, you get to vote. And then if there's, happens to be elections that year, then that year's vote, your last vote is counted. And then parties don't have to do all this bullshit with like just meaningless crap that, that they do during for elections. Instead, they have to campaign while they work, which means their actions are a lot more important.
Yeah, instead of promises that they'll never follow through on,
Exactly.
which has become so common that it's become a joke about politicians just saying, I'm gonna fix it, and then not fixing it, because why would you fix it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole problem. Politicians need to be held accountable for what they do and what they don't do, because if you make a plan, specifically like if you say we're gonna raise the taxes on the rich, for example. Well, first of all, that won't happen because otherwise you will be falling out of a window. Technically, if somebody pushes you off a building, it's gravity that kills you. That you're gonna get that again.
Greek myth logic.
Yes, Your Honor. He fell. That's gravity.
There are so many instances in Greek myth of just shit like that where it's like, oh, I can't kill this person because then the gods will be angry. How can I work around this? I know, I'll chuck my wife and child off a cliff, and then it was technically the ocean that killed them.
Yes.
It didn't, by the way, they lived.
Yeah, they have a bunch of angry people. What else do we have? Oh yeah, apparently the Dutch technology infrastructure is still dependent on the US, especially for cloud services such as, like Cloudflare and all that stuff. That's all US tech and
Yes.
all the data centers, which you don't have locally. And apparently the US also left the World Health Organization.
Aren't they situated in the US?
Not sure, but the US isn't in it anymore. Which is bad, because that means that means health there is going to decline even more, all because of corporate profit.
Enough of chit chat. I must quit. Temple of Crouching.
Like, I really hope that within the near future, a revolution happens there.
I have
Like, just a
no idea.
just a full on. Well, it is already partially happening because you have ice.
I mean, you do realize that
Tackling some.
a revolution would be kind of bad, right? Not just for them, also for us.
Yes, it would be incredible chaos that were to happen indeed. However, I feel
Well,
like it's the
but
only way to get rid of
on multiple fronts, because, you know, of course, economically it'd be a disaster, but I think there's actually an even bigger risk to that. Because
politically, of
if the
course.
US is, you know, what the fuck? If the US is busy with, kind of with themselves, what do you think Putin would do?
Yeah, the US is sort of the world police, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, then Europe has to take up all the slack, which it could partially do. Like, Germany is ramping up its production. France is ramping up its production. I think the UK is ramping up its production. We've all realized, especially with how Trump's been behaving, that we need to become more independent from the US. We've had that realization. So we are working on getting less dependent on them. However, if that doesn't really happen, then indeed a revolution would militarily be a disaster. And because if the US has basically another civil war,
I doubt that would necessarily happen.
yeah, but it would mean that the US has to get busy with itself instead of, the other countries. Which does indeed give Putin and Xi Jinping, don't count out China, to just go rampant. They could just go ahead and do stuff. Who's there to stop them?
I just tried those rat. It's people. Senior. It's the right time.
Alright, what else do we have?
Tried those rat. It's people. Senior bro. It's the right time now. I'm taking.
Should probably also end it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really find much more news. So I guess it leaves us with one thing left to say.
Yes.
After all this news.
Yes.
We're not experts.
But we were here.